Du willst Teil der digitalen Transformation der Versicherungsbranche sein und suchst eine neue berufliche Herausforderung? Dann höre jetzt genau zu. Berlin Direkt, der Digitalversicherer Made in Berlin, sucht zum nächstmöglichen Zeitpunkt einen Partner und Projektmanager Digital Insurance, einen Produktentwickler Versicherung und einen Senior Key Account Manager. Bei Berlin Direkt erwarten dich spannende Aufgaben in einem innovativen Arbeitsumfeld mit einem Fokus auf neue Geschäftsmodelle rund um Embedded Insurance und viele Weiterentwicklungsmöglichkeiten. Alle offenen Stellen findest du auf insurancemedia.de. Den Link dazu gibt's auch hier in den Shownotes.
Das ist der Digital Insurance Podcast. Ich bin Jonas Pieler und als Managementberater liebe ich Business Innovation und die Herausforderungen der digitalen Transformation. Heute hörst du hier, wie andere Executives der Versicherungswirtschaft den digitalen Wandel im eigenen Unternehmen gestalten. Viel Spaß! When talking about insurance, we shouldn't forget those that are making sure that the industry is somewhat stable, reliable, and that consumer rights are protected. I am, of course, talking about the European Insurance and Occupational Pensions Authority, in short, EIOPA, and to understand who they really are and what is currently on their mind regarding digitization, I am talking today to Andres Lehtmets, Senior InsurTech Expert at the European Insurance and Occupational Pensions Authority. Welcome to the show, Andres. Good to see you.
Thank you, Jonas. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Let's briefly talk about who EIOPA is so that everyone is on the same page.
Sure. Very briefly, EIOPA is the EU agency responsible for supervising insurance and occupational pensions in Europe. So our job is to make sure that the insurance and occupational pensions sectors are strong and resilient, and they work for both the consumers and the society and economy at large. And we keep an eye on the trends, and so that we can take action if we see that consumers are at risks or of maybe unfair treatment, or if there are other threats to the financial system in general.
So you're essentially focusing on both the protection of consumers and the stability of the financial system at large, right?
Exactly. So these are the core underlying principles of our work.
And how are you guys working? Because we have in Germany, for example, we have BaFin as a separate authority. They are a member of yours, or how does this work together?
Exactly. You described it very well. So our members are national supervisory authorities across the European Union who are responsible for, in member state level, for supervising insurance and occupational pensions. So indeed, in German case, BaFin is, for example, our member.
Which means you're supervising the supervisors.
It's not exactly that, but we are rather coordinating the work of the supervision in the EU level so that we have supervisory convergence across the union.
There's this harmonization of the European market coming into place, right? Where the objective is on a large scale to make sure that each and every of these country and these markets somewhat work similarly to others, where you have this freedom of service and where you can render services in other countries and these kind of things. This is sort of the broadest concept in which you are harmonizing or ensuring that all supervisors in each countries are somewhat working seamlessly together, right? Did I get this right?
Exactly. So let's say the single market perspective is definitely there, and it's of course related to supervisory conversions. As I said, the rules are applied in the same way, and ultimately it's related to level playing field, right? So,
and you're sitting in Frankfurt, right? Right now, not only right now, but also with your offices, right?
Exactly. Our office is here in Frankfurt.
And you are an InsurTech expert, senior InsurTech expert. What's your role? What are you doing every day?
Mm-hmm. Great. Happy to explain a bit. So indeed, I've been now in EIOPA more than 5 years and working here as an expert on InsurTech, also, among other things, coordinating our InsurTech task force work. And this is related to how we operate. So the InsurTech task force is a group which contains members from almost all national supervisory authorities. And in this group, we discuss most of the InsurTech related topics. So I'm coordinating this work, but then I'm also focusing some specific files myself. For example, open insurance business model change, platformization type of questions, the entrance of technology companies to the insurance sector, but also I've been looking a bit at sort of DLT blockchain questions and the implication for supervisors, for the markets, and of course, most importantly, for consumers.
And when you guys are sitting together in your workshops, I'm envision this as a large room, a lot of people, where you have meetings. And what are you discussing? You're discussing how to approach things. You're discussing what the state of is it? It's not constituents, but it's kind of the companies in your respective markets, how they're behaving, and what are the issues. Or are you discussing potential implications of new technology to harm market consumers and financial system, or what are the topics that you're discussing? Some on a higher level.
Exactly. I would say it's a mix of what you just mentioned, right? So in the innovation field, I guess the main thing is really to understand the implications, understand the new technologies, how they might impact the markets, consumers, and what we should or how we should adapt as a supervisor, so that the ultimate goals are protected, so the consumer protection and financial stability. And this can be in different levels. So market monitoring is definitely one area which we are focusing. So this is really to understand what's going on, and then also certain work might be related to how you might need to adapt your supervisory approaches, for example, on different topics that I already mentioned, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's a sort of open finance topics, blockchain, so on, so cyber issues, so on.
Yeah. And open insurance is one aspect that you're focusing on, right?
Exactly. Among other things, this is one of the topics that we are looking at.
And how did this come to you? Who makes up these, or who comes up with these new topics and ideas and thoughts and focus points? Is this something that comes out of these working groups that we just talked about? Or did you make this? I mean, not making this up, but did you come up with this?
Okay, thank you for that question. I start maybe a bit more broadly, and it explains maybe also how we how we looked at topics. So I guess if you look at broadly, then I guess it's fair to say that recent EU policy initiatives somehow recognize the importance of data-driven innovation in the internal market, in the single market. We can think about here as a sort of GDPR type of legislations where you have data portability rights. So maybe from banking side, PSD2 or open banking developments. Then also digital finance strategy that the Commission came out. So the discussions are somehow there. And of course, on open insurance, on open finance, it has been so far mainly focusing on PSD2 or open banking. But at some point when the Commission published their digital finance strategy, they also highlighted that by mid-2023, so by mid this year, they are planning to come out with the open finance framework.
Right. For whom? Open for banking and insurance, or either or? The open finance framework.
Mm-hmm. Sure. As it is stated in the digital finance strategy, it's just referred to open finance framework. So it remains to be seen what is exactly the scope, but you can imagine that it's going a bit beyond the current open banking type of approach, right? So.
Okay, but just carry on. So how does this fit together? And
in addition to that, I guess you can see certain trends or discussions across the globe, right? So if we can mention here Brazilian example where the open insurance framework is already in place. Australia maybe where it's, that the data, consumer data right is already in place. Discussions now ongoing how if and how to implement or extend it to the insurance field. In Singapore, certain insurance products are already in the scope, life insurance, health insurance products. So you can somehow see the discussions across the globe, I would say. And this has been also our our motivation why we started to look at this from supervisory perspective.
Looks to me as if the rest of the world is a little bit ahead of us, or was this just my impression?
I wouldn't definitely summarize it this way. I guess that what is fair to say is that discussions are ongoing, and there are certain countries which are a bit maybe more advanced. The Brazilian example I mentioned, but it's also a bit of staggered approach, that the whole framework is not yet in place. There are different
phases
of the implementation. So
okay, so this is sort of your holistic view on open insurance, and this is how it came about. From this, PSD2 was somewhat the roots, and then the commissioner, if I'm not mistaken, opened this up to like finance frameworks and kind of extended this to insurance. I understand this is how it ended up on your table, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean that you're an expert in this, and what do you do? So you're looking at what open insurance is right now, what it could be, what it should be, and you're talking with market participants, or are you talking with supervisors and hear their thoughts probably as well? How do you describe that?
Mm-hmm. I start again maybe a bit more broadly. So of course our focus is really, the supervisory perspective. Even if there is no regulation in place, it's important for supervisors to understand where the market are going, what are the developments, what are the new risks, and what are the new opportunities. And if we talk about open insurance, we might also cover a bit the definition, right? So I guess it's also fair to say there is no uniform definition of open insurance. Insurers have always, been relying on data. There is nothing new here in this sense. And, insurers do so to assess and manage risk, price product, charge premium. What is maybe new is there's a sort of increased availability of data and also the increased computing power, or the sort of ability to consolidate and analyze large data sets. And of course, new data as well, or alternative data, IoT data from your wearables, and so on, other smart devices. So open insurance is somehow based on this availability of data and involves data sharing and third-party access to data. So we've been considering in our work we've been considering it really broadly. So accessing and sharing insurance-related data, usually via application programming interfaces or APIs. We try to look the implication of this broad.
For how long have you guys been looking into this? But is this like a year, like 2022? Is it 2 years, 2020, or?
Mm-hmm. We started actually, I guess it was already 2020 maybe, so it was part of our forward-looking approach to innovation. So first we published a discussion paper on open insurance, I guess it was 2021, where we looked all of these questions and also looked potential risks and of course benefit side as well. So somehow this balanced approach is part of our approach to innovation. We always try to understand both the risk side, but also benefit side, and strike a balance between these.
Let's elaborate a little bit on a discussion paper. So you guys published a discussion paper in 2021, doesn't matter. What does that mean? Who is reading this? Who is this intended for? Who's discussing about it, if you will?
Sure. Again, I guess it's a members-led approach. We work together with our members. Of course, how we work, it's based on our annual working programs, right? So this somehow set the direction of travel, where we also set certain, annual working program and broader strategy as well, which states somehow the direction of travel, and there we, highlight also the certain topics which we feel that are relevant to look.
Yeah.
And then we usually, we capture feedback or input from our members, what they are seeing in their national markets. We might also do certain surveys either for our members to really have a sort of holistic approach and understanding of different European markets. We might also do outreach or workshop type of public event with different stakeholders. So this is aligned with our sort of multi-stakeholder approach. So we try to discuss all of these innovation topics with broad range of stakeholders.
Okay, so this discussion paper is there so other members, which is supervisors in the countries, are able to sort of read your views on this topic, for example, and then they can make up their own mind and have a statement, probably another contribution to through another discussion paper or any other means to sort of contribute to this discussion about, okay, what is open insurance? How should this be regulated? And what are risks involved, right? I mean, then we're coming to the topic of the risks you were just about to mention.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I guess you can summarize it this way, but I would maybe clarify a bit. So, of course, the members are involved in the work already, right? So, in a way, for example, if you work on a discussion paper, it's also a bit of the learning process, yeah, right? But usually after that, we also do a public consultation where we capture broader stakeholder feedback. So, with the open insurance as well. So, when we published the discussion paper, it was, put on the public domain. Full stakeholders had I guess 3 months to read the paper, share their views on concrete topics, and this is really a variety of the stakeholders. I mentioned here, of course, incumbent companies, InsurTech companies, academia representatives, so on. So tech solution providers, consumer representatives, so on, and this is somehow the extra level or layer. We are then taking into account this feedback and then develop our work further.
Yeah. And what type of risks are you guys seeing in open insurance, or what are the benefits, or what you wanted to talk about this earlier, I think, in a second?
Yes, indeed. So I mentioned our sort of balanced approach, which you always try to follow when we look innovation-related topics, and this is somehow one of the key principle of our work. So, and open insurance as well. So, if you think about open insurance, it has in fact the potential to bring benefits if designed well, and if good consumer outcomes are kept at the center of the debate. So it can, it can bring increased efficiency, transparency, the development of products better tailored to the demands and needs of the consumers, and potential cost reduction. I don't know, maybe we can, refer to embedded insurance here, where the insurance is put to the sort of point of sale or the phase where the consumer really feel the need of consumers. We really feel the need to buy insurance. But consumers might also be able to better compare offerings, choose most suitable solution, or indeed switch providers as well with greater ease if they feel that the product or service is not for them. And of course, the competition angle is here, although it's not now our remit, but it can increase competition as well. And if you look the risk side or supervisory side, and of course from supervisory perspective there are still many questions, or the final balance between opportunities and risks and feasibility due to the sort of lack of standardization of insurance products, or certain the questions how certain new services would look like or should be indeed treated, what existing regulations should be applied, or whether indeed new regulation or more market-led solutions should be developed. So these are the things which are important to keep in mind. In addition to that, I guess it's also important to mention that the insurance is much more complex than payment side, and there is more heterogeneity in lines of businesses across member states. And the interplay of data across sectors will maybe also call increased cooperation with supervisors, competition area, data protection area, so on. It's all somehow related to that. Then, of course, data protection, security, cyber issues, and the questions of exclusion, discrimination. These are also from risk side important to
consider.
Consider.
And what do you think? How long does it take to finish? I mean, the question is, probably it's going to be finished at some point, but how long does it take typically to finish such an approach where you have kind of a good view on what's going on, and then probably this will end up with some guidance for market participants on how to behave on certain topics and how to look for and how to regulate, right? Is this the outcome of this consulting papers or process?
I guess there are two strands here. So one, I mentioned that, the Commission or European Commission, the sort of policymakers are looking at the topic. So there might be certain developments from legislative side by mid this year. So this is one strand. From our perspective, I mentioned we've been already looking at this topic for certain time. We also did the public consultation, which we briefly discussed as well. Of course, after the public consultation, we also summarized the results and published it also in our website. And there, I guess it's important to state that it was quite difficult to summarize the results in this way, that there weren't one solution. So some of the stakeholders, supported rather legislative approach, others supported the market-led approach, standardization part as well, different views as well. So after that, what we did, we tried to concentrate more on concrete use case. Mm-hmm. And the use case, I guess it's maybe useful to describe here as well what we think about with the use case and what is the use case which we are working. So basically, the use case describes how a product or service might be deployed. So basically, it will analyze it from theoretical perspective, what might be possible. And the aim of this exercise is to really clarify the framework needed, including describing potential roles and responsibilities of the different stakeholders involved, assessing the application of existing legal framework, evaluating also the implementation challenges, potential risks regarding data sharing and standardization, but also identifying potential concrete benefits for consumers. And the design of the use case will somehow allow us to more easily identify the steps that might be needed from a regulatory and technological perspective to enable the deployment of these services by the market, basically. And for the use case, more concretely, our use case explores how to facilitate a holistic overview of all consumers' underwritten insurance policies in a holistic insurance dashboard. So basically, the tool would allow to collect and show all insurance policies and related information in one place, functioning as a sort of central point of contact that aggregates and combines information from various insurance companies and insurance intermediaries.
So is this one of those next steps that are happening, or what are the next steps on open insurance for you guys?
So exactly, this is where we are standing at the moment. So we are working on the use case, and to continue the development of the use case, we will also engage with stakeholders to discuss the aim and validity of the use case. We also did earlier in January, we organized a short roundtable to capture further feedback, and now we are trying to develop the use case further together with our members and the feedback we received, and then probably do another public consultation as well, where all the stakeholders can share their views. But then it would be based on this concrete use case, and I guess it ideally allowed to be much more concrete,
specific. Yeah, exactly. Understand.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. So we can actually read this, right? I mean, we as the public, we can access this documents on your website, right?
Exactly. So everything which we are publishing is available in our website. We just launched our new website actually yesterday. So there's a specific innovation related part there where you can actually get quite good overview of everything which we are doing on innovation and InsurTech.
The website is EIOPA.eu. That's it?
It's a bit longer, but
okay, better Google it, right? You Google EIOPA.
You can put it to the description of the broadcast maybe later. But if you Google EIOPA, then EIOPA.europa.eu. Perfect. Thanks, Andres, for this discussion. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the chance to explain a bit what we are doing from supervisory perspective.
Das war eine weitere Ausgabe des Digital Insurance Podcast. Wenn dir diese Ausgabe gefallen hat, dann hinterlasse uns deine Meinung bei Apple Podcasts. Und wenn du wissen willst, wie du die Herausforderung der digitalen Transformation in deinem Unternehmen meistern kannst, kontaktiere mich per LinkedIn oder unter pilaco.com.